Okay, so in this video, I'm going to give you the top 2 tips on how to get a band 6 for Module C, regardless of whether you're doing a creative or a discursive piece, which are the 2 main ones you should be focusing on once you're at the HSC level, advanced or standard. So here's what you need to do first. The first thing you need to do is think about how you can incorporate the themes of freedom and entrapment into your piece. So the idea that, well, what they really want to say is that you've got some sort of progression in your piece for a particular character and how potentially they say transform throughout their piece of writing. So this probably does make a bit more sense for something like a creative writing in this instance, where you've got a character who is feeling trapped by something. Okay. And then what you want to show is how they are achieving a sense of freedom in some way. Now, this is tip 2. The freedom that you want them to be able to experience should be reflected through a motif that you create. And we call it a metafictive motif, which is obviously a great thing to mention in your reflection statement, because all of the related text or set text that you do, or a lot of them do incorporate what we call a metafictive motif. So what that is it's when they're reflecting about the process of composition. So I basically writing about writing. Okay, so you're writing a piece and then you are reflecting on the process of writing, and in particular you want to link that to how that gives the composer a feeling of escape or an experience of freedom with whatever they're dealing with. So whatever it is that you're writing about, have those 2 themes, incorporate this idea of creation. Okay, so it could be that you're writing about writing. Okay, so maybe you're like in your piece, you're talking about a person journaling, or they're writing, I don't know, poetry, or they're writing a book. Like that's one example. You could also make it creative in maybe incorporating a painting. So maybe a person's painting something and that gives them the sense of escape or that sense of freedom. Or maybe, they love music and even they're either listening to music or they're composing music, and that gives them that sense, So incorporating these motifs to reflect a sense of freedom lend themselves really well to the stimulus pieces that you get. So now that you've watched this video, once you start looking at the stimulus or the questions, you'll start seeing a recurrence of that motif or how these things will connect. And we've got a couple of videos that show you how to incorporate these in with the actual questions that have been given in the past. So go have a look at those. When it comes time to the discursive, it's still really good to incorporate these depending on what the issue is, say, that you're talking about. So, let's say you've got a discursive about, something environmental, and you're looking at, say the human beings' environmental impact or our impact on the environment. There could be a whole idea in there of, the entrapment that you could potentially experience in like an urban context, and then the freedom that you get through, let's say, being in nature. And then, you could have like a photography motif. So it could be something about a photographer who, is capturing both of those worlds. And then, but it's in like the real natural landscape that they feel that sense of freedom. I totally made that up. Or, if you're doing a discursive about social media, let's say, and how, devices and social media are impacting the human condition. You could be exploring the notion that, like social media and I suppose misinformation, if that's coming into it, let's say, because obviously social media has made there be an open forum on information, regardless of whether it's got credibility, etc. There could be this notion that that's entrapping people, entrapping their minds, limiting their perspective. And then you've then got the flip side of, how you could potentially like escape from that. So I'm not sure exactly how, like you'd have to think about how to incorporate that metafictive element into it, whether it be that, going back to that photography thing, maybe you don't take photos on your phone anymore and you talk about like how people could get away from that, and use a normal camera, do a drawing, so there's a couple of different ways that, you could go about that. But in the end, what you want to try and do is bring in those themes of freedom and entrapment and have that metafictive motif in there when you are doing your pieces of writing. So hopefully that helps. I have found it works extremely well when you are doing, trying to link your writing to any stimulus to see how you can incorporate that into your work.